Alright, welcome to the latest installment of Huckins on Film. I'm Kyle Huckins, and today we are talking about the movie Killer Joe. I didn't have a chance to do a review of this one immediately after I got out of the theater for various technical reasons, so I'm doing it now. Also, luckily, I got a chance to take a shower at 12 because, this one is grimy. This one gets really sleazy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's amazing. This movie looks this was fantastic. But, oof. If you're not ready for some filth, and I mean a lot of filth, don't see this. There are parts of this that are very hard to watch. Basic story is Emile Hirsch plays a small-time drug dealer who ends up owing the wrong people some money. So he gets together with his dad, played by Thomas Hayden Church. They decide to whack the drug dealer's mom and Thomas Hayden Church's ex-wife because drug dealer's sister Dottie is apparently the beneficiary of her $50,000 life insurance policy. Now, needless to say, it doesn't go well. Mostly because Hirsch and Church's characters, they ain't got two brain cells between them. They are dumb. The whole thing takes place out where takes place is in the outskirts of Dallas, Texas. And the plan is to hire this hitman that Emile Hirsch's character just managed to find out about. As this movie goes on, you're just going to find out the length and breadth of his stupidity. Oh, his character is just dumb. Yeah, him and Dad go to a strip club to kind of figure out what's going on. I'm only mentioning this part because in the strip club at one point they were playing the Reverend Horton Heat, so that's just awesome in my opinion. The basic story is they want to hire this hitman. The hitman is played by Matthew McConaughey. And when McConaughey isn't making truly wretched romantic comedies, he's awesome. And this is no exception. He is a demon in this movie. The only way I can really describe him is he's kind of the spiritual successor to Wings Hauser's Ramrod from the movie Vice Squad. If you've not seen Vice Squad, do something about that. You'll thank me. But, I mean, the second he shows up, it's just one of those oh crap, he is not kidding. Because he's wearing all black, including black leather gloves, black cowboy hat, everything. Middle of the Texas summer, he's probably cooking in that thing. But he doesn't feel like sweating, so he doesn't. Yeah, he's one of those characters. He's a lot less bug-eyed than Ramrod was in Vice Squad, but the intensity is there. It's just with McConaughey's character, he is cool. Very little rattles him. This man has seen way too much. He's got way too much going on in his head. And it's really funny because when he shows up to discuss terms, her sister Dottie, he meets the sister Dottie, who, by the way, At one point, she is watching a kung fu movie, and she's practicing the kung fu along with it. The movie that she's watching is The Dynamite Brothers. You may not know it by that title, but you may know it as East Meets Watts. Yep. Movie the fucking cinematic Titanic did. I don't know what that makes me for knowing that, but it was pretty fucking cool. Just like, oh, I recognize that from cinematic Titanic. I really need to get out more. Her character of Dottie is played by Juno Temple, who has actually played Holly, Catwoman's assistant, in The Dark Knight Rises. I did not realize they were the same actress. Because Miss Temple is amazing in this. I mean, she is 21 or 22 when they filmed this. Her character is supposed to be 12. She pulls it off. She really pulls it off for the most part. Manages to be just somehow very innocent and naive, while at the same time she totally knows what's going on because she's just grown up with this awful family. And seriously, they are terrible. It's like an episode of Married with Children gone to hell. And the Bundys weren't a great family to begin with, but oof. And this family is rounded out by Gina Gershon, who's oh, she still got it. There's no denying it. Woman still has it. But she is possibly the most reprehensible human being in this film. And believe me, that's a dogfight. Because none of these people are good. Well, I'd say Dottie is probably the best person, but even she's kind of... And oof. Where do I get into the spoiler? So I really want you to see this. Oh, by the way, if you do see this, and you have dinner plans afterwards, whatever you do, for the love of God, if you were going to get fried chicken, just don't. Don't. You will never look at fried chicken the same way again after the ending of this film. That's all I'm going to say. Because I want you to see it for yourself. That's going to be kind of hard to do, because this was an NC-17. So it doesn't really play everywhere. And believe me, it is a hard-fought NC-17. They earned it. I mean, I've watched a lot of screwed-up movies. You know, I watched a Serbian film, and my only reaction was, that's fucking dumb. I've watched Martyrs. I've seen a lot of movies that will rewrite your DNA if you let them. Yeah, you're gonna need a shower after this one. It's honestly, I'm still feeling kind of icky after that one. To get into why I feel truly icky, I'm gonna have to start getting into spoilers. McConaughey is a professional hitman, of course. He's also a detective for the Dallas PD. Yeah, he's that crooked. And it gets worse. The family, they're hoping to get him to whack the mom without getting paid up front, because they're not going to have the money until the life insurance policy gets paid off, The son's gonna pay off who he owes the $6,000 to so he doesn't get killed. McConaughey wants his $25,000. Well, they don't have it. Well, McConaughey's about to walk away, and he's watching Dottie frolic in the street. Because Dottie is... There are times where she seems like she's legitimately mentally challenged. Like, I don't mean she's just a dumbass. I mean, where it just seems like she's not processing reality the way everyone else is. That's about the only way I can put it. You know, she's getting all the same info, but for her, 2 + 2 is 5. And McConaughey says, "Tell you what, I will work on retainer. Fix me up with your sister." Matthew McConaughey is a good-looking man in his early 40s. Character of Dottie, 12. So yeah, in addition to being a hired killer and sociopath, he's also a pedophile. And he's probably still the best person in the movie. Oh, this only gets worse, people. I'm not gonna lie, this gets worse. Oh, Jesus. Well, luckily, Church and Hirsch are two completely soulless morons who basically killed whatever brain they had with the cheapest beer they could get. And the only other person involved is Gina Gershon, and her character is just awful. Just a loathsome, despicable human being. And just absolutely disgusting at all times. I mean, the first time you see her is when she answers the door to her for her stepson, middle of the night. And the first thing you see, crotch. Yep. Yep, someone answering the door, didn't know who it was, whatever, just answers the door with their ass hanging out, and everything below the waist. Yeah. And this whole thing ends up playing out like a Greek tragedy mixed with the Jerry Springer show. But worse. And in the middle of all of this, I mean, not only is this occasionally hard to watch, but for all the same awful reasons that make it hard to watch, it's funny as hell. There are parts of that movie where you can't help but laugh. Although it's that, okay, that was funny, but I wish I wasn't laughing at that at the same time. It's one of those, you almost have to laugh because a lot of what's going on is so uncomfortable. It's that kind of laughter. It's very dark. Ugh. Also, like, when I say it's dark and it's gritty and it's grimy, now remember, Dottie is supposed to be a 12-year-old being played by an actress in her early 20s. It doesn't make it any less uncomfortable when she gets naked. And she does that a few times in this movie. including one time where Hirsch is just having a dream, and it's her just doing kung fu in the nude in the hallway, and then he wakes up and she's gone. It's like, oh, are you guys hinting at possible incest here? 'Cause, oh, Jesus. I mean, I own Caligula, for Pete's sake, and it gets worse. I'm going to say that a lot in this review. Because it does get worse. It always gets worse. There is a scene... Because Dottie knows about the plan to take out Mom and get the inheritance. She is all for it. Which is where the whole idea of her being innocent really takes it in the nuts. Because she's on board with killing her mother. Now, everything you hear about the mother, she's a terrible human being. You never actually, well, you do see her at one point, but she's not doing a whole lot of acting, to put it mildly. Kinda dead. But there is a scene where everyone leaves the trailer, and it's just Dottie and McConaughey's titular character, Killer Joe. They're on a date. And it ends the way most good dates do. But it's not good because it's a 40-year-old and a 12-year-old. And the way the scene is shot, it's meant to be very erotic. It's very lovingly done. Honestly, it's one of those. It's a fantastically done sex scene. And honestly, that's the only time where you really lose the illusion. Because when Juno Temple gets naked, it's obvious she's an adult. But still, right before everything happens is when you find out that she's 12. So you're watching this scene and it's like, wow, this is really hot. She just said she was 12 2 minutes ago. How do I react to this? Seriously, you kind of want to castrate yourself if you're watching this movie. It's just... And I gotta say this for Miss Temple. She's either gonna have PTSD after making this movie, or after this, absolutely nothing is going to faze her ever again. Because director William Friedkin, he asks a lot of her. And she delivers in spades. That's right, it was directed by William Friedkin. French Connection, The Exorcist, some movies you may have heard of. And, oof, it's... Yeah, I don't want to get too much into spoilers, because you haven't seen them. You may have to wait for it to come out on DVD. Like I said, I live in spitting distance of New York City, and I had to go hunting to find this sucker, so... chances are you may have some issues finding it too. Fantastic flick. I totally recommend it. It's a great black comedy. Accent on the black. And if anything, it's worth it just to watch Matthew McConaughey be crazy intense. Because if you've never seen him do that, you need to. He's amazing at it. Another great movie for that, movie called Frailty. In other words, just him being an intense Texas boy. That movie is screwed up to high hell as well. Also directed by Bill Paxton. That's right, man. Hudson directed, man. Game over. I couldn't resist. But, yeah, Killer Joe. Great movie. I totally recommend checking it out, but... oof. It'll make you squirm. And not the way a horror movie makes you squirm. It's like, oh, God, oh, dude, no. She's 12. And the really screwed up thing is, they don't, like, it's a black comedy. It plays a lot of stuff for laughs that it shouldn't. It doesn't play that for laughs, though. They take that seriously. Also, the ending may tick some of you off because you're near a resolution between Dottie and Joe, and the credits just come in. You don't know what happened in that heartbeat after the credits rolled. And I really don't want to give anything away. I can't get too much into it, but it's one of those... one heartbeat could mean a whole lot. But, you know, it's a great looking movie. It's very well directed. The cast is amazing. I mean, Thomas Hayden Church, you have to be a very smart man to look that dumb. Because if he was actually that dumb, I mean, they couldn't get him onto the set. He'd just be in a persistent vegetative state. You know, he's not a mean, nasty, dumb guy. He just kind of, he mixes apathy and stupid into a very potent elixir of, wow, can you tie your own shoes? Emil Hirsch's character, he's a little more of a go-getter. But he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground either. You know, unfortunately, he got Dad's brains. Really, the only one who has any consistent intelligence out of this family is Gina Gershon. And she's not that bright. But, you know, compared to what's surrounding her, she's a genius. She's also very manipulative. She's cheating on her husband constantly. And just about every time she speaks, it's like, whew, lady, there's just, the word trash would roll in dog shit just to smell better after being associated with you. Because she plays one of the trashiest characters I've ever seen. And God bless her, she throws herself into it. And she says, well, if I'm gonna be awful, I'm gonna be awful. And she is. You know, she's always clearly on the make. She's wearing enough makeup to stop a bullet. Just, oof. It's really weird when your character is skeevier than the hitman you've hired, who's also a pedophile. takes work. Then again, that's the crazy thing with McConaughey is his character, is you do get the feeling he does genuinely love Dottie. God. Urgh. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up because, like I said, I don't want to spoil the movie. But, yeah. So when you have it's just watching a bunch of really stupid, immoral people link up with a complete sociopath, and hilarity ensues. By hilarity, I mean, dear God, I will never be clean again. And like I said, Juno Temple, I salute you. This was one of those performances where you just gotta tip your hat. Wow, that... I generally don't use the word risky when it comes to acting, because when I think risky, I think, live fire drills. Or at the very least, some dude on ice skates coming at you 30 miles an hour trying to take out your knees. I tend to associate risk with more physical or physical stuff, really. Probably some macho bullshit I need to work out in my own head, but it's not about my brain damage, it's about the cinema. But yeah, she pulls off a gutsy performance. Especially since she has to act about 10 years younger than she is. Like I said, you totally buy the whole she's a kid thing. Except when she's naked, because she's obviously a fully developed adult. Very nicely developed adult, I might add. I'm a guy, this is how I think. But yeah, watching it for her and Matthew McConaughey, and watching the two of them together, it's very impressive. Like, they had great chemistry. Which is another thing that led to those scenes just being so... Because their characters had great chemistry, and they played their characters perfectly. One of those, like, yeah, this whole thing really wouldn't be a problem. But she's 12. And like I said, they never say she is, but you do get the feeling at times that she might be mentally disabled. Which doesn't make this any better. Not at all. But I would say all the performances were great. But McConaughey and Temple stood out above the rest. No, seriously, this is a great film. I wholly recommend it. But like I said, there are parts of this movie that are very hard to watch, even for a veteran of cinematic awful like myself. Well, I think I've said enough. This is Kyle Huckins for Huckins on Film, fucking off.